The movie begins with a young man named Ben running through the middle of a desert, drenched in sweat and dying of thirst, until he jolts awake and realizes it was only a nightmare. He gets dressed and sees his fiancée Lena standing outside, so he steps out to meet her. Lena tells him that she has been accepted into a university and cannot pass up this opportunity. And though it saddens them both to be apart, Ben understands and agrees to let her go to the city. Before she leaves, he brings out a box with a handgun inside and hands it to her, telling her to keep it as a keepsake from him and to always have it for protection. Lena takes the box, gets into her car and drives away. After Lena leaves, Ben receives a voice message from the town sheriff, a kind man who often searches for people lost in the desert, asking Ben to come see him because he needs a favor. When Ben arrives at the office, a businessman named Medek is also there. The sheriff explains that Medek has come to hunt in the desert and wants to hire Ben as his guide. Because Ben knows this region extremely well, Ben asks Medek to show his hunting permit, since he cannot guide a man without one. But the sheriff tells him not to worry, because he has already looked over Medek's papers, even though he isn't entirely comfortable. Ben agrees. They set out in Medek's jeep, which is loaded with weapons, while Medek keeps bragging about his money, though Ben doesn't care in the slightest. Along the way, Medek tries to win Ben over and eventually gets him talking, and Ben shows him a photo of Lena, explaining that the hardest part of her leaving is that he won't see her for a long time. They drive deep into the desert and make camp, and when night falls, Medek asks Ben why he didn't follow Lena to the city. Ben explains that when he was a child, his parents took him into the desert to help people and animals in trouble. But one time his whole family got stranded when their car broke down, and no one came to rescue them for days. Under the burning sun, his mother kept smearing lipstick onto his face to protect his skin. And because of that, Ben survived. But his parents died of dehydration right before his eyes. Since then, he has stayed here, wanting to keep the memory of his parents close. After that heavy conversation, both men fall asleep beside the fire. The next morning, they set out to hunt. When Ben again asks about the permit, Medek dodges the question, then pulls out a thick stack of cash and tells Ben to take it and stop asking. And seeing such a large sum, Ben falls silent and keeps leading the way. They climb onto a high rock formation, where Ben scans for signs of animals. But suddenly Medek spots something moving in the distance and fires at once. Even though Ben never gave him the go-ahead, the two run over to check, and they are horrified to discover that Medek didn't hit an animal at all. The person he shot is Charlie, an old man from the town who often searches the desert for minerals. Ben knows Charlie well and is deeply shaken to find him still alive, but bleeding heavily, so he runs back to the jeep for the medical kit. In the meantime, Medek, frightened at what he has done, calls someone and explains the situation, and the person on the other end advises him to fire one more shot, but with Ben's gun instead of his own. Medek does exactly that. He takes Ben's gun, walks over to Charlie and shoots him in the head. Hearing the gunshot, Ben rushes back and sees that Charlie now has a second bullet wound, and he asks in horror what Medek has done. Medek calmly explains that from now on, if the police investigate, they will find 2 bullets in Charlie, one from Medek's gun and one from Ben's gun. That means the death will no longer look like an accident, and Ben will be dragged into the case as well. Ben is stunned into silence, and Medek keeps manipulating him. He says that if Ben reports it, they will both be arrested. But if Ben stays quiet, Medek will handle everything. Hide the body, pay whatever it takes, and even help Ben attend the same university as Lena and live a comfortable life. The only condition is that Ben must forget everything that happened today. Medek holds out his hand, and with no other choice, Ben reluctantly shakes it and agrees. After that, the two of them bury Charlie's body. Feeling exhausted, Ben says he needs to get some water, and when he reaches the jeep, he searches through Medek's bag and finds an emergency communication device. Ben tries to use it to call for rescue, but Medek catches him, points his gun at him, and forces him to throw the device down and crush it underfoot. Furious, Medek says that Ben has broken the agreement between them. Then Medek orders Ben to strip off his clothes and shoes, and to stay alive, Ben has no choice but to obey. Medek plans to let him walk home naked and barefoot, knowing he will not survive the heat and thirst. And once Ben is dead, he will tell the police that Ben killed Charlie to cover his tracks before fleeing and dying in the desert. So all the blame falls on Ben. To frighten him, Medek fires shots near his feet, forcing him to walk across the burning sand in complete exhaustion. And as the hours pass, his feet tear open and bleed. while Medek follows from a distance, never taking his eyes off him because he wants to watch him die. But Ben does not die easily. He was once trained to survive in the desert, and knows how to endure far longer than an ordinary person. When he reaches an area with many rocky crevices, Ben finds a way to throw Medek off his trail. He squeezes into a narrow gap between the rocks and disappears from view. And Medek immediately drives over to search, because he cannot leave until he is certain Ben is dead. While hiding, Ben discovers an opening in the rock. He crawls inside, and realizes it leads to an old mine that Charlie used to work. Following the passage, Ben makes his way into the mine, where he finds many photographs of Charlie with different people, including one of Charlie together with him. Ben is heartbroken because Charlie was like a father to him, and he swears to himself that he will make Medek pay for what he has done. Ben finds clothes and a map of the desert, and takes them to make his escape. Just then, Medek finds the mine entrance and knows Ben is inside, so Ben hides deeper in the tunnel. Medek walks in but doesn't see him, and noticing there is a lot of explosive material in the mine, he lights a fuse and throws it toward the tunnel before running back outside. Ben cannot put it out in time, so he rushes out just as the blast collapses the whole area. Medek is waiting outside, and after checking Ben's pockets and finding nothing, he forces him to take off his shoes and keep walking barefoot. He warns that if Ben hides or runs again, he will shoot him dead from a distance. And since Ben knows the gun can hit targets accurately from far away, he is forced to keep walking through the scorching heat. The nearest town is about 45 miles away, and using the map he took from the mine, Ben follows its directions. He reaches a spot where he and Charlie once placed an old sofa, tears out the foam inside, and wraps it around his bloody feet so he can keep moving across the hot sand. Because this area is hidden from view, he disappears from Medek's sight once again. The map turns out to be a treasure map, and following the first mark, Ben digs up a box containing a slingshot and a few metal balls, which he keeps. The second mark leads to a bottle of water buried in the ground. And since Ben is severely dehydrated, he quickly opens the cap to drink. But at that exact moment Medek fires from a distance, knocking the bottle out of his hands and spilling all the water into the sand. Now Ben understands the true meaning of the map, that in the desert the most precious treasure of all is water. And even that has been stolen from him. With no other choice he keeps walking, parched and desperate. While far away Medek calmly sips a drink and watches him through his binoculars. After walking a while longer, Ben runs out of strength and collapses. Medek drives closer, and to make sure he is dead he fires 2 shots near his body. But Ben doesn't move at all, which convinces Medek he has finally died, so he drives away. What Medek doesn't know is that Ben is still alive and only playing dead. Once Medek is gone, Ben stands up and struggles toward a place where he and Lena used to rest together. A cave up on a high cliff, a place that should have water. Ben hopes he can drink there and survive, but as he is climbing the cliff face, Medek finishes a phone call and spots Ben still alive through his binoculars. Enraged, he opens fire at Ben. Ben dodges the bullets and slips into the cave, where he searches for water, only to be crushed with disappointment when he finds it has dried up completely in the heat. Outside, Medek uses a loudspeaker to call in, telling Ben to surrender because no one can save him. Ben decides to wait until night, so he can use the darkness to escape. When night falls, Medek turns on the Jeep's headlights and shines them straight into the cave. But Ben quietly slips out through another way. He sees Medek sitting far from the Jeep, so he sneaks over to grab a jacket from inside the vehicle. Because the desert is cold at night, when Medek returns to the Jeep, he notices the door isn't shut properly and the interior light is still on. He knows Ben was just there. Medek starts the Jeep and slams it into reverse to run Ben over. But Ben reacts fast, dropping under the vehicle and rolling out between the wheels, escaping death by inches. Medek keeps firing but misses. And when he has to reload, Ben takes out the slingshot and a metal ball. He aims carefully, then fires it hard into Medek's head, and the ball strikes home, knocking Medek unconscious. The next morning, Medek wakes up to find himself tied up inside the Jeep. Ben stands outside, eating and drinking to recover his strength. Medek's phone rings, but Ben doesn't answer it and throws it away instead. Medek threatens that Ben will never get away with this, that even if he goes to the police no one will believe his story. And he even promises Ben $1 million if he is released. But Ben no longer cares about any of these temptations. Ben drives Medek back to town and goes straight into the sheriff's office. bringing both guns and telling the whole truth from beginning to end, including that he accepted a bribe to let Medek hunt without a permit. The sheriff then goes into the holding cell and asks Medek how much he offered Ben to stay silent. And when Medek admits he promised $1 million that Ben refused, the sheriff believes Ben and lets him go. Ben is relieved that someone finally believes him, but as he heads out, he sees Medek's photo and information on a computer. A short while later, he hears a helicopter outside and understands that Medek is about to escape. He runs out to stop it, but he is too late, and Medek flies away, escaping punishment right before Ben's eyes. A few days later, Ben goes to see Lena at the place where she is now living, and he tells her everything that happened in the desert. He says that from now on he wants to be by her side and will never leave her again. That night, while sleeping next to Lena, Ben has a nightmare that Medek appears in the house, holding a gun and about to kill them both. He wakes up in a panic, but sees no one in front of him. But the moment Ben closes his eyes again, Medek's voice rings out for real. Medek is sitting in a chair in the room, and he steps closer, saying that he missed Ben and only came to see him one last time. Then he points his gun at Ben. Just as Medek is about to pull the trigger, Lena wakes up, having heard everything. She reaches under her pillow, takes out the handgun that Ben once gave her, and shoots Medek from behind. After that, Ben takes the gun from Lena's hand and fires several more shots into Medek, finishing him off. In the end, Ben has taken revenge for himself and for Charlie. The movie ends here.